Hello, everybody. Thank you so much to everyone who is joining live and hanging out tonight. And thank you so much to everyone and all of you who watch the replay. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. I'm so excited to hang out tonight and chat about whatever it is that you want to chat about, goals, planning, etc. If you are new here, I do go live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern to answer any questions that you have, again, about goals, planning, my life, my goals. Pretty much everything is up for grabs. So let's start with our go-to beginning question, and that is, what are you drinking? If you're here live, let me know in the chat. If you are watching the replay and are part of the replay fam, comment down below and let us know what you are watching as you are enjoying this replay. All right, the chats are finally coming in. Hello, good evening. Oh, thank you, Andrea. I appreciate that. Let me know if it's Andrea, if I'm saying that right, or if it's Andrea, because name pronunciation is very important to me. We've got lots of water, a Jenny Craig low-cal vanilla shake. Water, I didn't even tell you, I'm having hot tea. I am way ahead on water today. And I don't know, there was nothing else in my house I really wanted to drink. It felt silly to have more water. Not silly. Water is great and important, but I was like, I'm going to have something different for lattes with Laken. So I have my hot raspberry tea with a smidge of honey. Orange LaCroix, finishing your cold coffee from your awful day. I know, Colleen, I saw your post in the comment. I saw your comment on the post in the Facebook group. I'm sorry that you've had such a rough day. Hopefully your evening gets better, or at least you get to bed early and start fresh tomorrow. Sprite Zero energy drink, more water, Coke. It's been a long day of spreadsheets. Oh, Lisa, that sounds like a rough day. Well, I appreciate that all of you are here, and I'm excited to chat and answer your questions. Let me take this comment away and let me know what it is that you want to chat about tonight. What is on your mind? Okay, you don't mind how people pronounce your name. You know, a lot of Andreas do, but not you. That's so interesting. Diane, I keep procrastinating. My goals keep getting pushed back every single day. By the way, I don't have an AirPod in. I know that's what it looks like when my hair moves. It's a bandage on my ear. Okay, just to clear that up. If you didn't see on Instagram, I had a minor procedure done during lunch today. There's a bandage on my ear. Let's talk about procrastinating on our goals and pushing them back every single day. So the biggest reason I have found for myself and for other members of our community, and why we procrastinate and push our goals back from day to day, is that the steps that we're putting down in our planners, the action steps that we're trying to take every single day, are just too big. And what we need to do is break our goals down and make those action steps even smaller. And instead of trying to move a mountain or to have this big, massive step in our planner every day, we need to shrink it down so that it is so much easier. It's still not going to be easy. It's still going to be a commitment and something that you have to decide is important to you. But putting 10 minutes of a workout, if you're trying to start a workout routine, putting 10 minutes of reading is going to be so much more realistic. Heck, start with 5 minutes. Start with a page of reading rather than putting, oh, I want to read for 30 minutes or I want to, read for an hour. I find that most of the time we just have way too much ambition when we plan out our days, especially when it comes to our goals. So first, I'm going to recommend the video I made about breaking down your goals. I will link it down below when this live is over. You can Google PlanwithLaken goal breakdown, and you can figure out how to actually break your goals down, and then make those steps that are going on your daily plan something much smaller than what you're doing now. And make sure there's a lot of other things involved, but usually that's the number one reason I find that we tend to procrastinate. Block some trolls here. All right. And delete the comment. I guess I didn't realize blocking him would not also delete that comment. Claire, will you be changing up with your goals or routines for the second half of the year? Yes. I was actually just working on my quarterly goals right before I went live on this video. I had a few extra minutes. I find that I either have like way too much time on Wednesdays, I give myself way too much time to set up and prep and do all the things, or I am rushing at the very last second. Today, I had some extra time. So I started working on my quarterly goals for Q3. And yes, the second half of the year is going to look very different. Couple of reasons. One, I feel like a couple of my goals for the year, I can just take off. Like I feel like I've done a good job. And at this point in the year, they don't need my focus anymore. And then as we go back to the office, things are going to look much different for some of my other goals. So things are definitely going to switch, which I will talk about a lot more in my quarterly goals video coming in a couple weeks. Hi, Kaden. What are some of your must-haves for keeping your office work life organized? That's a great question, Caitlin. If you're talking about like for my full-time 9-to-5 job, honestly, now that we've been working from home, I don't really have any like tools or things that keep me organized. I don't print things out anymore. I don't really write things by hand, with the exception of my daily planner. I don't do anything by hand. It took a lot of getting used to. I used to be the person that printed out everything, like every PowerPoint I would print out and take handwritten notes. Every meeting I would take a spiral notebook and take notes by hand. But with my own printer, my own paper, my own ink at home, it got to be too much. So I do it all digitally now. So I don't really, if you mean like physical organization, like physical tools, I don't really have anything that I use. I have all the trolls are out tonight. I have all of the like electronic things that I need. I have a monitor, I have an external keyboard and an external mouse, and that keeps me organized and keeps me on top of things, but that's about it. Corey, do you find yourself getting distracted by home personal tasks when you work from home? Any tips on staying focused? So I feel like this was much harder when we first started working from home. It's also much harder on days that are slower at work. When I am head down and work, this isn't an issue for me. So my first tip would be just like, maybe if you're bored with what you're doing at work, that might be cause for distraction. I find when I am like working, I have a lot of things going on. It doesn't even faze me. And then my other tip here would be to schedule breaks. And then in those breaks, that might mean doing one of those personal things so that it gets it out of your mind, like switching the laundry or putting the laundry away, prepping for dinner, tidying something up. Like instead of an actual break, it might be something household. That way it gets out of your mind. There is a lot to be said for the concept of out of sight, out of mind. So if there's some kind of task that is distracting you, is it something that you can see, and can you get that out of your visibility when you are trying to work from home? Andrea, does Sam have an update for us on the Moxie Life notebooks? No, because that would mean that he has been using them, which he has not. And I haven't asked him about it in a long time, because I don't want to sound like, you have to use these, like I got these and you need to use them, because like if he doesn't want to use them, he doesn't want to use them. But I think it's likely more of a forgetting type thing than like he doesn't like them. He just has never really done any kind of goal setting like that before, besides within his business. So it's just never been a thing that he's worked on. So we need to see what that is like. I might touch base with him as we approach like the mid-year and like the start of a new quarter, and just see how he's feeling. Tina, is NYC opening much more? Have you been using the subway? Yes and yes. NYC, according to the mayor, the governor, somebody set off fireworks last week to celebrate the city being fully opened. Broadway is not back. So until Broadway is back, I don't really consider the city fully opened, but it is pretty much opened. Yes, ever since we got our vaccines, we have felt comfortable taking the subway. Even though the city is fully open, you are still required to wear masks on public transportation, and people do not. They do not do that. So I am very glad that we made the decision to not take the subway until we got our vaccines. But now we take the subway. Oh, Kaden, I don't know if you saw this comment or if you're still watching, but is school out? They live in the South, Colleen, so school gets out very early down there because it just gets way too hot. So they have been out of school for a while now. I know the answer to that question. Jamie, how is the date night box? Funny you ask, because I was just emailing with them earlier today. My box got lost in the mail. So it shipped. They don't ship until the middle of the month. It didn't ship until like the 12th, and then it got lost, and then we had to give it time to see if we could find it. We couldn't find it. So they are sending another one, but I don't have it yet. So I'm likely not going to be checking that goal off this month, and not for lack of trying, but because I had the time slotted in our calendars for tomorrow night to do it, or not tomorrow night, Friday night, but we're not going to have it by Friday night. So we're still going to go on a date. We actually made reservations for a place that Sam's really excited to try in the city. And I'll just do it in July at some point. I'll let you know. I'll definitely let you guys know when I use it though. Diane, I get overwhelmed with my chores. How do I get rid of that feeling? Whew, that is like a couple things. One, it may be that you are just trying to do too much, and that is there somebody else that can help you with the chores? If you live alone and that's not an option, then ignore what I just said. But for anybody else, if you feel the same, that would be my first place to go, because I think as women, we tend to take on more of the household chores because we think about it. We think about it being a thing that needs to be done. And it's not, but at least in my relationship, it's not that he's not willing to do it. It's just that he doesn't think about it being a thing that needs to get done on a regular basis. So we sat down and figured out, okay, what are all the household things that need to get done and who can do what? That way I'm not the one doing every single thing. So that's step one, is if you're feeling overwhelmed, if there's somebody else that you live with, list out all the things that you do and give some of them away. If you do not, either way, whether if you live alone or you don't, now you have this list of chores that you need to do. And I think some of them have to get done daily, and that's just the matter of fact. And I heard this really interesting concept from the, it may have been from Dana White, the decluttering person, or it could have been from the Minimal Mom. But anyway, she had this theory that the more dishes that pile up, the time gets worse exponentially. So 2 days of dishes does not take twice as long as 1 day of dish. It takes even more than that, because you've got to move the dishes out of the way and it takes a lot more work. So some things that may not feel like it needs to be done every day, you are going to save yourself time in the long run by doing things every day. Otherwise, don't try not to do everything every day, right? Take a break, split things up. And then I think it comes down to making a reasonable plan that you feel like you can stick to. I feel like there are all of these charts and lists everywhere that says we should do this, once a week, and this once a month, and this once a quarter, and this once a year, and all those things. Man, I don't have time for all that. It is very rare that I follow those guidelines. Let it go. If you aren't following the strict guidelines and you're doing it every other week, every other month, every other year, it's okay. A new restaurant to try, Pasta Louise. They were at the Nets game the last couple weeks. Cool. I'm always down for pasta, that's for sure. Kayla, how do you decide which tasks get done? Which days you do which tasks? Are there specific tasks that you're talking about? Can we, is there a category of tasks, or do you mean all tasks? Because that's a broad, I feel like, question that I don't know how to answer. Dahlia, in your opinion, how much time should one schedule for their goals? There is no set amount of time that somebody should or should not schedule for their goals. It is how much time you have in your life to commit to your goals. And even if it feels like you have zero time to commit to your goals, try and find 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day to focus on you and to work towards your goals. And even if that's all you can do, it's better than zero. It's making progress. It's something, and something is better than nothing. But there is no ideal time, because everybody's life is different, and everybody's ability to set aside time towards their goals is going to be different. And all that I suggest is that you equate the expectations that you have, or don't have expectations, I heard one time, not expectations, have what's the word? Like standards, have standards but not expectations. But understand that if you have less time than somebody else, the progress that you make on your goals is going to be less than that other person who has more time. But there isn't a like a right number or a right amount of time that one should dedicate every week to their goals. Caitlin, I have seen them on Instagram. She asked if I've ever heard of an exercise program called Tap Fit. So the concept, if you want to go check them out on Instagram, is they sell these like tap shoe add-on pieces that get added onto the bottom of your tennis shoes, and then you can like work out and tap dance. And I did look into it a little bit. The biggest issue is that I don't live on the first floor anymore. So I really don't feel like I can tap dance at home and like not bother my neighbors downstairs. When I lived on the first floor, this would have been a total option. And then I also I realized that I love to tap dance in general, and just taking a normal tap class is a great workout. And so I can go do that now that things are back open in person. But I did see that. Can you remind me what you had in your moving spreadsheet? I'm currently in the position where I'm going to need to source lots of basic home items. Loretta, it wasn't much. It was like I had a tab for the tasks broken up by week. So we had about a 6 or 7 week time frame from the day that we signed the lease until the moving date. So I had like each week what I wanted to get done or needed to get done. And then I had a shopping list of things that I wanted to buy and then each column was a different room in the apartment. That shopping list still exists because we still haven't bought all the things that we need to buy for our apartment. And then I also had a tab that I was going to track and put the number of boxes. But due to a family emergency, I ended up packing much faster than originally planned. So I did not use that tab whatsoever. Personal tasks and business tasks. Okay, that still feels very vague and very high level. So business tasks are not within my control most of the time. Most of the time what I work on day by what tasks get done on what day for work is based on the project management team telling me what I need to do on a certain day, or just taking the outstanding items on my to-do list and starting from the top and working my way down. Personal tasks, I don't know if I have a system to really decide what I do on what day. I think when it comes up, I try to do it as quickly as possible. And if not, I put it in my Google Cal and I schedule it for a future day. I don't know that I really have a method to decide what is going to happen on what day. So. Finally catching you live. Yay. And I'm so excited that you're joining us live. You just got into PA school. Congratulations. And you're moving up to Ithaca. Ithaca is beautiful, cold in the winter, but beautiful. You're moving in 3 weeks. Tips for moving. Y'all, I have had a lot of requests to share like moving tips. And I just I feel like I did it once and I did it not the way I planned to do it because of circumstances outside of my control. And I don't think that there was anything that I learned that was life-changing that is something that made a difference. There was nothing I did. I packed quickly. We hired movers and they moved us and then we unpacked. I know that I just don't feel like I did anything special when it came to moving. I don't know. I wish I had like all of the tips. The color coordinating was probably the one thing that I am glad we did, and our movers did oblige by the color coding. So we color coded the tape of the boxes by room. So been wanting to ask what your communication routine consists of. It is, no, my phone is far. I can't reach it. It is literally just for me to respond to all of the various places that I communicate with you on the internet. So I kick it off with all of my Patreon stuff. So there's a daily post in the Facebook group. So I post that first, and then I respond to Patreon text messages. I respond to all the Patreon Facebook comments. Then I move over to Instagram. I respond to Instagram DMs. I post on Instagram if I'm posting something that day. Respond to Instagram DMs. Respond to Instagram comments. and then put anything in the Instagram highlights if that's something that I need or want to save in the highlights. Then I go over to YouTube. I respond to you. Well, then I typically circle back to Patreon in the middle, respond to any text that came in response to my text that I sent. Then I go to YouTube and I do YouTube comments. Then I go to my email and I do a quick sweep of my email. This is not my scheduled time to like sit and type responses. This is my time to like delete, file, unsubscribe to emails. Then I circle back to Patreon and I respond to texts and Facebook comments and messages again, all the ones especially that came in on the post that I posted at the beginning. Can you talk a little bit more about the books you recommend, what they are, but I don't know which one to read first. So Kayla, my typical advice when it comes to books is to read books that are associated with your goals. So read a book where the content is going to directly relate to a goal that you have. If you have a goal to lose weight, read a book about, weight loss and mindset around that. If you have a goal to save better, read a finance book. If you have a goal to declutter, read the decluttering book. There are very few books that I feel like I can recommend that are general goal setting focused books. The two that are kind of the exception to that I always talk about are Fear is My Homeboy, which is that bright pink book right there, by Judy Holler, and then The Lazy Genius Way. Those are the two books that I always say, like, start with these because they're the best. Yes, higher movers, for sure. I mean, for us, like, nobody in New York has a car. So in order to do it with friends, plus we were doing it during COVID, so we couldn't have friends, it just was like the same price. So we might as well just hire movers. Rebecca, will you do some vlogs during your upcoming trips? During Oregon, no. I will not be vlogging Oregon. I will post on Instagram stories, which is what I tend to do when I'm not vlogging. But this trip is with my future in-laws. This is all their side of the family. I am not in control at all of this trip, and I really don't want them to feel like I'm pulling out the camera and I'm like documenting this whole thing for like the internet. So no, I will not be vlogging in Oregon. Chicago, probably, because they're used to it at this point. It's my family and it's not a vacation. Chicago is a temporary relocation, right? We're going to Chicago for a week to work from there and then spend the weekend with my family. And so it's not a vacation. So like, I will likely I'm not going to do like a Chicago vlog, but I will probably end up pulling out the camera at least once or twice while I'm there. Andrea, you mentioned in a vlog a little while back, you were thinking of going back to your nutritionist. Did you go back? If so, how's that going? I have not gone back to her yet. That's still something that I am working through. Allison, would you or have you tried a system like Notion to organize your life? I tried using it, but Google Docs is working for me. I have not. I tried Asana for a second. I tried to use Asana for a second to organize. It did not work for me for a number of reasons. I would love to potentially be able to use a system like that to help me, but I have not found one that works for me yet. Any good weight loss mindset books? Not that I have read. I have one that I got from the library called F Your Diet that I haven't read yet. Had it in my possession for a while. It's probably overdue at this point. That Corinne, who I talk about a lot, her podcast, Losing 100 Pounds with Corinne, she recommended this book. I've not read it yet, so take that with a grain of salt. How did you like your Equinox membership before COVID? Before COVID, it was great. We were going like 4 or 5 times a week. We were taking classes. We were going to the spa, not the spa, but like the sauna room and the locker rooms. We loved it. It was expensive. It was expensive. And we also lived very close to a very nice location. So once we realized that we were moving, that it was going to be a while before indoor fitness classes opened up again, we just decided that it wasn't worth it anymore. And so that's why we canceled and ordered a Peloton. Plus for me, as much as I loved the Equinox fitness classes, if I'm going to pay to take a fitness class, I'm going to take a dance class because that is my preferred method of movement. So I would rather, even if I'm paying the same amount of dollars every month, I would rather pay for the Peloton and honestly, that's not even that much, like total. It's way less than 2 people paying for Equinox. and then use the rest of that money that I was spending every month to take that many dance classes. Like, I would rather do that. That would make me happier than the Equinox membership did. Yeah, you'll see them at Christmas again this year because Christmas is always Vlogmas and I'm always in Chicago for Christmas. So you will see them again this year at Christmas. Corey, is there a video where you go through your morning routine basket? Yes. But I don't, I have a morning routine video. So that would probably be the one I would go to first, the morning routine video. And I do go through my morning routine basket in an Instagram highlight. So if you go to my Instagram and go to the morning routine highlight, I definitely go through the morning routine basket there. Yes. Yeah. Andrea, Rebecca and I were actually just texting about Corinne and her podcast because she's a Patreon member at the texting level. And we were texting about it before this live. So I know that she's been watching it and she's amazing. She's just the best. Y'all, this podcast, I recommend. Was it my Q1 favorites? She's the best. Is Sam using the Peloton? Tina, yes, he is. He's not quite as consistent. He's still trying to figure out the best time of day that works for him. He is not a morning person. And so it doesn't really work as well for him. And then what usually happens is he works right up until dinner and then he eats dinner and then he's full. So what he's been trying to figure out is that sliver of time between like him being done with work and eating dinner, even if it means like he has to go back to a little bit of work after dinner. That's kind of been how it works best when he squeezes it in. That's when he squeezes it in. And he is also the opposite from me, where he always does it on the weekends. So I like to have my workout as part of my routine and do it Monday through Friday and then take the weekends off as a break. He is not like that. He would rather only find 2 evenings that he could squeeze it in during the week and then do it on Saturday and Sunday and still get 4 workouts in each week. Oh, Ruby, I'm so glad that you're able to join us live. No, Amanda, that's okay. I actually thought it was Tuesday for a while today too, so you're not alone. Welcome. Yes, Rebecca, I wish she had a book as well. I given how long she has been in this business, she has had her membership community for years and years and years and years. And she's had her podcast for like 4 years. I am shocked she has not written a book. Shocked. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes at some point, but not yet. But I am shocked. My tea is basically cold now, but that's okay. How did you decide to do your reading during the morning and before bed? For me, it was about routines that I already had and fitting the goal of reading into those routines, because otherwise I wasn't going to be as diligent about just remembering to pick up the book when I have 5 or 10 minutes to spare. I will say, once I get really into a nonfiction, why do I always mess that up? Once I get really into a fiction book though, I will pick it up randomly when I feel like it, because I'm really into the story and I want to get to the end of it. But that's what happened. I had the routine settled first, and then, at least for my morning routine, the morning routine was set in stone, and then I added reading to it. For the evening, it's really about the fact that I didn't want to be on a screen. I wanted to do something in the evening to wind down that didn't involve watching Netflix. Corey, do I read multiple nonfiction at once? Yes. I tip and it's for no other reason other than I get very bored. And most of the nonfiction I'm reading is very like educational, I guess, educational nonfiction, not versus like inspirational nonfiction. So it just feels, I just get bored and I just want to switch it up. And so I usually have like a handful of nonfiction books going at any given time, but I definitely only read one fiction book at a time. I have a staycation coming up next week. Any tips for balancing productivity and rest and play? So Heather, I would ask myself, would you rather split it up by day or split the days up? Because I feel like on one hand, I get the appeal to do like half the day is productive and half the day is rest. But I also think that there is value in saying like, I'm going to spend 3 days being productive, and then the rest of it is going to be rest. But I would make that decision before you start making a list of these things that you want to do in the productive time. I would commit to what the balance is going to look like. And maybe I gave like 50-50 examples. Maybe it's like 75-25 or 80-20 for you. Whatever you want that split to be, decide that now, decide what that's going to look like, and then fill in the list of things that you want to get done during that productive time, versus the other way around. If you do the list first, you're going to end up having very little rest and play time. I didn't realize that you were going to Puerto Rico. You're going in October for 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, Rachel, that sounds amazing. We are going for Thanksgiving. So we are seeing a lot of extra of our family at all kinds of things in the next year and in the past year. And so instead of going home to anywhere for Thanksgiving, we are going, and we have a wedding in New York that Sunday before Thanksgiving. So normally I would go home for that whole week to go to my parents in Texas, but we have to be here through Monday morning basically for a wedding. And so we leave that Monday before Thanksgiving, and we're going just the two of us. We wanted to get somewhere warm and alone. Basically, we just wanted to go by ourselves. So I use that feature on Kayak where you put like, this is the airport I'm leaving from, or the city that I'm leaving from, because we obviously have lots of airports here. These are the dates that I'm going, and I want a beach. That's what I put. And Puerto Rico was the least expensive flight. So we said, sounds good. And we figured Puerto Rico was also going to be safe in terms of like, it's the US, like it was just you know what I mean? It's like a US territory. So it would just be easier from a travel standpoint, given everything that's going on right now. There was no risk of them being like, you're not allowed in. I guess there is probably that risk, but it felt less so than picking a place like we were looking at, like Costa Rica. Any tips or recommendations for new power sheets? You're attending the Cultivate What Matters workshop and you want to get most out of the prep work, but you're afraid you might get overwhelmed. Absolutely. So I have a video on this, and that's funny because it's a collab with Brianna, who is commenting below. So what we did was we each gave our top 5 tips to new power sheets users. So I will link both hers and my video down below. It totals up to 10 tips. My biggest tip though, number 1 tip is you set a timer for each page. Each page of prep work, if you feel like you're going to get overwhelmed, there's a set amount of prep work. You set a timer for 5 minutes for each page. And when you're done with that, you move on. Don't worry about filling it all the way out to the bottom. Don't worry about having the perfect answers. Just when the timer is up, you move on to the next page. And then check out those videos because I think they're very helpful. Also, signing up for the workshop, I also think very helpful. Lisa, am I going to continue my 1 little word habit after June is over? So definitely not in the evening. I'm definitely not going to continue in the evening once June is over, but I might move it to a different time of day and give that a go in July and see how it goes. Here's some weight loss book recommendations. Meditate Your Weight and Body Thrive. Thank you. Are there any changes from the past year that you plan to continue with longer term now that everything is opening back up? Absolutely, Claire. And I've said this in a few places. Like I feel like I said it on a podcast interview, but the Reader's Digest version, in case you heard me say it before, going into everything shutting down, I did not rest. I just didn't. I worked my full-time job, which at the time included commuting and getting ready. I spent all of my hours outside of that, either working on my goals, working on my business, socializing with friends. And then I slept, and I considered sleep my rest. So obviously when everything shut down and I had all this extra time in my schedule because I was no longer going to social events and my commute and get ready time from work all went away, I had lots of extra time. Now I did fill some of that extra time with my business, but for the most part, I actually just took it to rest and relax and like do some fun things. And it just felt so good. And so I know now that even once now that social events are starting back up again, travel is a thing again, and eventually going back to the office will be a thing, I still want to incorporate rest. And one of the ways that I did that was by moving to a neighborhood where my commute, I can walk to work. And so instead of having a 30-minute commute each way on the train, I now have I can't tell you how long without giving away my location, but a much shorter walk to my office. Now, so that saves me a good bit of time every day, which adds up over the course of the week. And so even if I went completely back to my normal self and all I was doing was resting in that extra commute time, that's still a good amount of time. That's not going to be all that I rest, but just something like that. So that's the biggest thing that I am keeping as things open back up. Yeah, it was actually the first time I'd really worked or I'd used Kayak. I usually use Travelocity. I don't know why, but I knew that Kayak had that feature and I really liked it. Hello, Elise. Welcome. Oh, this is a great question because I struggle with this too. Weird quirk. It's not a weird quirk because I have it too. Whenever you find a new channel or podcast, I feel compelled to listen or watch from the start, which can be hundreds of episodes, which is nuts. Yes. And I feel you as well. So what I'm going to tell you that made me realize why that was not going to be a feasible option. Part of it is, you find podcasts and channels that have hundreds and hundreds of episodes or videos. The biggest reason is their current episodes are their best work. Those first episodes or videos are not great. They did not know as much. They have learned a lot since they likely started hundreds and hundreds ago. Their current stuff is most applicable to the current day. It is their best work. They have the most knowledge, and it is going to be the most helpful for you. So I would start with what they've got. Now, if they have some podcasts, especially not really YouTube videos, but podcasts, sometimes they have like a summary of like my top 10 episodes. Like the Lazy Genius episode 200 is the top 20 episodes from the first 200. If they have something like that, sometimes I will go back and listen to those. But if they don't have something like that, I start from the current day. If I listen to enough of the current day, or like YouTube, if I watch enough of the current videos and I'm really vibing, I think that they're great, I'm learning a lot, sometimes I will go back and just pick out the topics, the titles of the videos or the podcasts that sound interesting to me, and I will listen or watch those. But that is one of those things I just had to give up. It was like that lazy genius principle of decide once. When I find something new, I don't go back and start from the beginning because there's just not enough time in the day. Hello from Ireland. Thanks for joining us live. Jessica, this is a fun question. What does a day in the life of your planner look like? Do you look at it throughout the day or just at the beginning or end of the day? So I typically look at it mostly just at the beginning of the day. And then when I transition from work to the evening, like at 5, I look at it again at 5. So I know like, okay, these are the things that I'm working on this evening. These are the to-dos that I haven't gotten done yet that I need to find time for this evening or move on to tomorrow. Those are pretty much the 2 times that I look at it. And then I will, in my evening time, I will go back and check things off as I do them usually, because I just enjoy that process of checking things off. But if you've ever watched one of my daily Plan With Me videos, I do tend to forget to go back and check in with it after I finish my PM routine. That thing never feels like it gets checked off, even when I do it, until the next morning. So that's kind of the life of my planner. But it always sits open on my desk. It's always right there, just hanging out. That's typically when I check in with it. Any recommendations for books about starting a business, and how do I get my Plan with Laken tasks done? Well, I get my Plan with Laken tasks done the same way I get any other test done. I schedule it in my Google Cal. I set aside time to get those things done. And I also realize that I can't do everything I want to do. There's so many things I want to do for Plan with Laken and so many ideas I have, and there's just not enough hours in the day. Books about starting a business. I don't know of any off the top of my head. A lot of the business content that I have consumed has been on YouTube, podcasts, and paid courses, but I always recommend 100% the best nonfiction book I've read this year is Profit First. If you are going to own a business, you need that book. Lisa, what has been the highlight of your week or the thing that has had the biggest impact on your week? I booked all those flights last week. That was last week. Did you ask me last week? Because that was last week's. Or did that happen? That may have happened since Wednesday. probably booking all the flights. So we're good until Christmas now. Like that's not true. We need to book train tickets to Baltimore, but train tickets are not as expensive, so I don't feel as pressured to buy them. But all of our fall stuff, or all of our summer stuff too, like our June through November is planned. And it just felt good. It felt good to be flight searching and booking flights again and looking for deals and figuring out when we want to go and all those things. Yeah, that's true. A podcast will do a replay of highlight episodes when they need a break. Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. And then you can always go back and listen to those important ones, but for the most part. How did you get interested in watching podcasts? I want to listen to podcasts, but I haven't gotten into them. You like watching videos on YouTube. So, you guys, I think I remember now. I used to also struggle with podcasts. Two things got me into podcasts. One was the right podcast, and it happened to be a YouTuber that I loved who started a podcast, and that is Amy Landino. I talk about her a lot. Highly recommend her older content, not so much her current stuff. But I loved her on YouTube. So when she started a podcast, she is one of those people that I just wanted all the information. Every piece of content she put out, I wanted. So I started listening to podcasts for her. The other key for me for podcasts was figuring out when was the best time for me to listen to them. Because it is more than listening to music. It couldn't be something, for the most part, that I do like while I work. Now, there are some like mindless tasks if I'm in a spreadsheet or something that I can get away with a podcast. But for the most part, I can't do it while I do something else, like mind work. It has to be while I'm doing, but I also can't just sit there and listen to it because there's no visual and it's very boring. So it has to be a thing that I listen to while I am doing something else. And so for me, that is cleaning. That is like the number one thing that I started listening to podcasts doing, and also commuting. Now, because I don't commute anymore, it's not that one kind of went out the window, which is why I feel like I've been behind on my podcast for a long time. Same with YouTube videos, really. But finding things that I did, and cooking dinner. That's the other time I try not to listen to podcasts anymore while I cook dinner because I feel like I put so much in my brain that by that point my brain kind of needs a break. But cooking is another one that I will listen to podcasts while I cook. John Acuff, Start and Finish. I love his podcast. I have not read the books yet. They're on my list. But I've heard great things about those books. What is the best and worst part about living in New York when COVID isn't a factor? So the worst part about living in New York is how expensive it is. Like the end. That's the worst part. The best part about living in New York is likely, when COVID's not a factor, going to see Broadway shows and having the access and opportunity to do that. Now, most major cities get good tours and get stuff, and most good shows eventually end up on tour. But there are some shows that don't, that I love, that I've seen, and it's usually a delay, right? I can go see it earlier on Broadway before it ends up on tour. But that's probably the best thing. The second best thing is probably how easy it is to also travel to other places, because New York is such a hub that it's easy to fly to international places and even most of the country, except the West Coast. It's a long flight. Shannon, any tips for reflecting, approaching the mid-year refresh in the Power Sheets? The first quarterly refresh was different because of COVID, and now it feels like a lot more has shifted. So too are my goals. So my number one tip is to not feel guilty when you need to change things. When you're going in, these refreshes are there for a reason. There is a whole blank page about changing your yearly goals for a reason. There's a whole blank page about setting new quarterly goals for a reason. So if you need to change them, you have that permission. And that is the whole purpose of the refresh. So don't feel bad if you need to change them. I think that is one of the struggles we have when picking goals, is because we feel like we're committing to this goal for like ever and ever and ever. And if we pick the wrong one, then it's going to be a waste of time. And so we just shouldn't even start. And one of the things I love about the refreshes and the fact that they have space for the yearly goals. I also, if you're not changing them, I also advise you just to rewrite them, because having that like memory of rewriting them is a good feeling. But don't feel like you can't change them or you have to change them. Either option works. The other thing that I will say about the refreshes is if you don't feel like this is a time that you want to refresh, because it's not a refresh for you yet, maybe you still feel like you need another month or two, or summer is a weird time, you have kids at home, and maybe you want to refresh in August when the kids are going back to school, just wait. Just flip straight to July, keep treating July with your same quarterly goals as before, and then refresh when you need to refresh. I think that's another thing that people feel like they need to be tied to the structure of the quarters, and that doesn't always work depending on your life. Ruby, this is on my list, but I'm not buying books this year, and it's not at the library yet, but it's on my list. We should all be millionaires. If the library doesn't have it by Christmas, it's going on my Christmas list. The worst part of NYC is the summer garbage smell. Melissa, the summer garbage smell is pretty bad. It's pretty bad. You are a very social, justice-oriented person, social worker here. Thank you for all that you do. Were you raised that way, or is it something that became important to you as an adult? So both of those things. My parents raised me to accept everything and everything, really, Laken. That's not social justice. Everybody, and always do things for other people. We always volunteered. When I was growing up, we volunteered at things. I was always encouraged to donate like a portion of my allowance and things like that. I remember one year, I was raised Catholic for part of my life. For Lent one year, I donated $1 every day for 40 days. And I wanted to do it to like a bunch of different places. And my mom was like, how about it's just one place? Like you can just put the $1 in the jar and you can donate it all at one place at the end. That story makes me laugh. I don't remember it as much like in my memory, but my mom tells me that story. Anyways, so I was raised that way to some extent. And then as I became an adult, it became way more clear. My parents, they did a good job of raising me that way, but also sheltered me from a lot of things growing up that I did not know about until I became an adult. And especially once I moved to New York, that is where I learned a lot more. And then the internet has taught me so much that I didn't know before. And that has made me a much more active as an adult. I love this question. Are there any favorite contestants on Lego Masters as far? So I haven't watched yesterday's, right? They come out on Tuesdays because I don't have cable. So normally we don't watch them on Wednesdays because we watch Handmaid's Tale, but Handmaid's Tale is over. So we'll probably watch it tonight. Yes, I love the dads. The two dads that are friends. They met from a social justice thing. They're my favorite. Those are like, and they're pretty good. So that's my favorite contestants. I love this, Marissa. You did your refresh in June. It made more sense for you to treat June as the beginning instead of from June to July. I think that makes so much sense. I think for a lot of people, I know that I can't fully understand the shift that is summer because I don't have kids, and I don't work in an education system where the summer is a completely different time of year. And so for a lot of people, yeah, move it up, move it back, move it up, whatever that looks like for you. Don't be afraid to do your refresh at a different time of year. I actually am thinking, I was thinking about this today, that I might do a refresh that's just July and August, because then September is going back to work. But then I was like, then do I want one to be September, October, November, December? Because that's a long chunk of time. But December also is usually just a bunch of nothing because I'm spending the whole time on Vlogmas. So really it would be like this refresh is July and August, and the next one is September, October, November, period. And then December is its own animal. I haven't figured that out yet. I'm still thinking about it. What do you like about The Handmaid's Tale? I know it's popular. I read the book in college and it was a hard read. I honestly couldn't get through the book, Kayla, but I do enjoy the show. It is still hard. It's still tough to watch. Especially as a female, it is a tough watch. I can, and I would imagine, obviously I don't understand as any other marginalized group, because it's not just women, it's any other marginalized group they're not for, but that it is very difficult. Honestly, I just think it's beautifully done. The cinematography is beautiful. Just all of it is amazing. Elizabeth Moss is amazing. And I just got hooked. I got hooked to the story, and I wanted to know what happened. I wanted to know what happened to the characters. I mean, they make you just want to be a part of her life and keep going. So, and now at this point I'm not giving up, because I want to know what happens. Ruby, I had one of the coaching groups. I work with advocates for doing goal refreshes and off month if the traditional start months don't work for you. Absolutely. And that's even true about the new year. Like if you feel like the new year isn't a time for you, that's an option too. Genuine question. What goals have you achieved that make you a goal expert qualified to sell a course? Considering joining when you open again, but I haven't heard you mention anything that you've done. That's a great question. It's experience. It is coming from, like, I guess you're asking that, what goals have I accomplished myself? I have videos and videos on YouTube talking about all the goals that I've accomplished. I do a goal check-in video every single month on YouTube. You can watch those, go back and watch those and see all of the goals that I have accomplished in the past. I have started a business that I work on outside of a 9-to-5 job and have successfully grown. I have worked on a relationship. That's a big one that I talk about. I've grown a YouTube channel. I feel like I have shared this whole journey from start to finish on all of these goals and brought everyone along the way. So I do feel like there is a lot of, I was trying to make it a little bit less white. I do feel like I have a lot of content out there that shows all the things that I have accomplished. And then more recently is the Patreon community and growing that community and then helping the members of that community accomplish their goals. And that was what really helped me solidify the content for the course. Yes, a lot of the course is based in my own personal experience and the things that I've struggled with along the way, but it's also very deeply rooted in what I have seen the Patreon community struggle with over the almost year that I have worked with them, and helping them work through those roadblocks and what has worked and what hasn't worked and watching what they have achieved. So hope that answers your question. I am also always, my DMs on Instagram are always open if you want to message me to have more information about the course when it launches. I am always happy to chat. I am all caught up on questions. Any other questions? Any other topics that you want to discuss tonight? It doesn't have to be super serious. It can be about Lego Masters, which is super fun. If you just need a fun, like show that just makes you smile, Lego Masters is where it's at. Do you have any content business planners you recommend? No. I've never found one that works well for me. I use Google, like Excel documents. That's like where my whole business is planned, is in Excel, and Word docs and things saved on my computer. I don't know. I use the content planner for a little bit, like the content planner is what it's called. And I think it's a beautiful product. I think she did a beautiful job designing it, but I don't think it's that unique. It is just a monthly planner. It's too big on my, I can't keep it open on my desk. It takes up way too much space. And with all the delays that happened in the last launch, it feels like I'm not as excited to read it or to use it. I was looking at the next question. Favorite fiction genre? Yeah, like dystopian, young adult dystopian, Hunger Games, Divergent, etc. What's for dinner? Andrea, that's fun. I finally jumped back into the Cook Once, Eat All Week cookbook. You'll see that. I'll talk about it in the vlog that goes up on Friday. It's a weekend, and it's Saturday and Sunday. The vlog tomorrow. Vlog on Friday. But I finally got back into it. So I did my favorite week, which is week 19, but I subbed chicken for the pork because Trader Joe's did not have the pork. And it's been delicious. So it's the last one of those meals, which are the stuffed sweet potatoes. And I'm so excited. And then I think I mentioned this somewhere, but one of the things that I've been trying to do that's really been helping me is is there anything for dinner that I can prep during lunch? And so I did some of the prep work during lunch, so it shouldn't take me as long to get that dinner together after this is over. I know it's almost been a year. I have a fun thing planned for both Patreon and then just in general on Instagram to celebrate the 1-year anniversary. Educator here. Thank you for everything that you do, Shannon. Moving into a new planner, any essential elements that you would include? You know, I am the kind of person who I don't like to write future stuff in the future planners. I would rather like put it on sticky notes and like protect, like be safe and protect it, because if I change my mind about the pen I like or the style or the system, I like wait. So I just always put everything on sticky notes. And now that I use my Google Cal more often, I don't find myself putting those kinds of things like birthdays and weddings and things like that in my planners. What time is too late for you to eat dinner? When do you usually eat? So on non-Wednesdays, we usually eat at like 6:30, between 6:30 and 7. Because I usually get started with dinner between 6 and 6:30, and then, depending on how long it takes me to cook dinner. So usually between 6:30 and 7. If Sam is working, I will wait until 7. And then if he is not done at 7 and dinner is ready, I will eat at 7. Wednesdays are obviously the exception. Does multiple planners ever feel overwhelming? Jessica, the way that I have helped it to not feel overwhelming is I've given myself permission to not use every page of every planner that I use. So I leave monthly layouts blank. I leave notes pages blank. I leave extra dashboards blank, because the purpose of this planner may not be for all that extra stuff. And I think what can be overwhelming when we try to use too many planners is we try to use every page of every planner, whereas my Plum Paper Daily, I just use the daily and that's it. And that's enough for me. And like, I don't use the monthly layout in my power sheets because it just doesn't work for me. And that's how I kind of move through the overwhelm of multiple planners. Any tips for budgeting? I know you use Excel, but I want to use a planner. No, I don't have any tips for using a planner. Follow somebody who, go watch videos of somebody who does. I know Jen Plans has a lot of old videos on it. I know Plan with Elise here does a lot of budgeting videos, and Shea Budgets would be my recommendations. Do you still put timers on your social media usage? Yes. And Allison, I actually hit it yesterday for the first time in a long time, but that's because I also spent a lot of yesterday going through those responses from the surveys I did on Instagram. So I spent a lot of extra time on Instagram, and I hit them for the first time in a long time yesterday. But that's also a sign to me that I need to lower it, and that I'm doing a good job of staying in my current limits. And so I need to lower it by probably 15 minutes. What's your favorite form of fitness? Yeah, dance all day long, Jessica. That would be my number one choice. And I do like weightlifting, so a strictly weightlifting class. I'm not a huge fan of cardio unless it's a dance workout or the Peloton. I'm on board with it. Do you have your major certifications? Do you mean my diploma? Kayla, is that what you're talking about? Oh, Sarah Marie. Yeah, she also does budgeting. Yep, that's a good one. All right. Oh my gosh, it is already 6:58. I am losing track of time. Let me know down in the comments. If you're watching live, put it in the chat. If you're watching the replay, let us know in the comments. What is one thing that you will do this week to make progress on your goals? It doesn't have to be big. One small thing, not that you should do, not that you might do, not that you kind of want to do, something you will do this week. My actuarial. I have my associates of the Society of Actuaries. It's an ASA. My actual certificate is at my desk at work, collecting dust. Making your packing list for vacation, Lisa. That's so fun. Mid-year goal refresh. So ready. So excited. Habit trackers in your notebook, preparing for Florida. That's exciting, Jessica. Memory planning for this week. Amanda, I feel like it's always memory planning. I feel like that's what you always say. Working on the Club Moxie best self. Yeah, I need to do that too, Ruby. I'm very behind. Packing one box every day and one donation bag. I love that. Moving, Corey, good luck. Good luck. You've got this. And then it'll be done and you'll be in your new place and it'll be great. It'll be great. I know moving can be so overwhelming, but it's worth it. It's worth it. I promise. Exercise on days you don't see your trainer. Love that one. I haven't missed a week so far. I love that, Amanda. And every week you're like, it's memory keeping. I'm glad it's working for you, your new system. Recap your child's kindergarten year for memories. I love that. Pushing through the CPA studying. Andrea, you've got this. I know we've talked about this so many times about your CPA. You've got this. Setting up your joint Google Cal. We need to do that instead of just sending each other invites all the time. I love that idea. Awesome. I'm here to remind you, one small step at a time. And small progress is still progress. Keep working on your goals. Even when you don't see progress, I know it can be hard to keep going, but I promise if you push through, it will be worth it. If you wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up before you head out, I would greatly appreciate that. And if you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching.